Hey, what's up, Crossroads? You excited this morning? Wow. It is so good to see you all. We want to give a warm welcome across every single campus. If you don't know me, my name is Jonathan, and I get to oversee all the youth ministries here. And also with us today is the one, the only, Joey King. Will you just give it up for Joey King? Oh, I know. I'm excited that Joey's even here. I'm like, wow, this is going to be great. Joey, do you mind just sharing what you do?
Yeah, so I get the opportunity to serve as one of the youth pastors here at the Woodbury campus, as well as the associate pastor of discipleship, and I'm just really, really excited for Youth Takeover.
I'm so excited, and some of you are like, what have we gotten ourselves into? I'm like, you got yourself into a treat. That's what you got yourself into, because today is Youth Takeover. And so we want to start this whole morning off with a question, just one question. So are you ready across every campus? Are you ready for this question? Yes, sir. Here it comes. What do you do, or what happens when you realize that everything you ever wanted isn't enough? What happens when you realize that everything you've ever wanted isn't enough? What happens when you finally get that dream job and you realize it isn't enough? Or what happens when you marry that 10, smoking hot, and you realize that he or she still isn't enough? Or what happens when you get the promotion or you get the toys, the snowmobile or the boat or the dream of all dreams, the lake cabin, but still you realize it isn't enough? What do when you realize everything you ever wanted isn't enough? You weren't expecting that, were you?
Yeah, you were like, oh, the youth pastors are preaching today. I bet they're going to be up on stage telling all these bad jokes. Oh, maybe some poop jokes.
Yep, nope.
Oh, having those shallow, you can do it talks.
Yeah, well, just to clarify, we don't say you can do it. We say wait to do it until marriage talks. Right, Joey?
Oh, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Or maybe you're like, oh, the youth pastors are preaching. That means they're going to wear their little skinny jeans with holes in them. Well, hey, not today. No way. We're going to cover up these sinful knees right on up. Yep. You're not sinning today, little knee.
This is going to hurt. This is going to hurt later.
This is going to hurt later.
But, maybe you're like, I bet the youth pastor is just going to throw out a bunch of candy.
Yeah. Nope. Not today. Not today.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Because today, we mean business. Satisfied? Joey, what are you doing?
You said satisfied, so I figured Snickers.
No, Joey. Okay, I'm so sorry. One second. Joey, if we throw out candy there, they will not take us seriously. Plus, a Snickers, peanut allergies. Did you think about that? Somebody could have died on this service.
Give me a break and break me off a piece of that Kit Kat.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh boy. We are never going to get this opportunity ever again. I'm sorry, everyone. We just got to rein this thing back in, and we're going to go back to our serious question as you're thinking about Joey. The question is what happens when you realize that everything you ever wanted isn't enough? And I saw some of the looks on your face. You're like, that's a question you ask when you're in a midlife crisis. What are you guys, teenagers? And the answer is no, we're not teenagers. Joey, you haven't been a teenager for years. I mean, 2 years specifically.
Yeah.
He's 21, and I'm 30, so yeah, we're young.
Yeah, so yes, we are young. Just a little fun fact for all of you guys. Yep. Jonathan and I, combined ages, 51.
That means together we're wise.
Yeah, we're super wise.
We're really wise.
Yeah, in fact, our lead pastor, Pastor Phil, he's 61.
Joey.
So he's got a good 10 years on us.
Joey, you can't say that.
I'm not sure I should have brought that up.
I'm not sure we're going to be employed after you bringing that up.
So yes, we might be young, but the reality is this: across every generation inside deep of us is a longing, and a longing to be fulfilled, and a longing to be satisfied.
Yeah, and if I can just share some of my stories, some of you know this. I grew up in a very small town, and I love my small town. But when I'm talking about small town, I'm talking real small. Like we were the suburb of another small town. My town was so small that like on Thanksgiving when all the families are showing up, you would maybe have 500 people in that town. And when I grew up in that town, I had a dream. My dream was to become a famous musician, to become a rock star, and someday win a Grammy. And everybody's like, oh, you're never gonna do that. You're like, oh yeah? Bring it on, I'm gonna do it. And so what I did is, before being called into youth ministry, I pursued my music dream, that I'm going to be the one who made it. Have you ever felt like you wanted to be the one who made it or become somebody? That's what I felt. And I had this idea that, you know what, if I do this, that's what's gonna fulfill my life or bring satisfaction into my life. Now, truth be told, I never got close to earning a Grammy, but I did have some cool opportunities. And what happened is this, is I started thinking that when I get to play at this venue, then I will feel fulfilled. Or when this group of musicians sees me as a legit musician, then I'm gonna be satisfied. And here's what happened. Some of these opportunities came and they were fun. But as they came and went, it still left me unfulfilled and unsatisfied.
Yeah, and every generation has their when-then formula. When I get the job, then I'll be fulfilled. Or when I finally marry that spouse, then I'll be happy. But the problem with this when-then thinking is it's faulty. So many of you in this room realize that when you were younger, you thought that once you get where you are now, you would have it and you would be satisfied. You thought that once I get there, then I'll be satisfied. But that's not what happened. This is a problem when we understand that when-then formula will never get us where we want to go.
That's true, and that's why we have to ask this question of what happens when you realize that everything you ever wanted isn't enough. And today, we're gonna look at this incredible passage in the Bible that helps us answer that question. And we looked at this passage at our winter whiteout retreat, and we saw God move incredibly, and I believe across every single campus that God is gonna move today. Now, if you have your Bible, if you've got your phone, or if you just wanna use Google, go to Philippians 3. And the main character that is writing here, his name is Paul, and he answers the question of the day of what do you do when you realize that everything you ever wanted isn't enough. So we're gonna read out Philippians 3, and we're gonna start at the end of verse 3, and this is what it says. We put no confidence in human effort, though I could have confidence in my own effort if anyone could. Indeed, if others have reasons for confidence in their own efforts, I have even more. I was circumcised, which we don't talk about in youth ministry, when I was 8 days old. I am a pure-blooded citizen of Israel and a member of the tribe of Benjamin, a real Hebrew, if there ever was one. I was a member of the Pharisees who demanded the strictest obedience to the Jewish law. I was so zealous that I harshly persecuted the church. And as for the righteousness, I obeyed the law without fault. Now, what is Paul doing here? It's very clear. Paul is bragging. Paul is bragging because they're in this conversation with religious people who are trying to out-religious each other. And Paul's like, hey, if we're going to go down that road, I will out-religion you every single time, every day of the week. Bring it on, because Paul had religion down pat. He had all four R's of religion. He had rituals. Paul was circumcised on the 8th day, just as the Jewish law had said. Paul, race, he was from the elite tribe of Benjamin. Rules, he was a member of the select 300 rule keepers we call Pharisees, who keep in mind this, they kept 613 laws of the Old Testament. That's a whole lot. And then the last one, reputation, hashtag Taylor Swift. Paul was faultless in the eyes of others. You see, Paul had what so many people in the Jewish first century wanted. You see, Paul could have said that he had it all, just like some of you. Some of you and some of us believe that we have it all. And some of you out there, maybe you have the quote-unquote perfect suburban life. You have the big house, the 2.3 kids, a 3-car garage, the cute little golden doodle, and a sweet paying job.
Or maybe you're a student here, and you got the looks, you've got all the friends, you've got the academics, or maybe you're the star of the drama club or star of the show choir team. whether you're a student or an adult in this space, you ever push pause? You ever push pause and wonder what's missing? Wonder why all of those things that should satisfy you just aren't. See, Paul did this. Paul pushed pause, and he had a moment that changed everything. A moment that changed his life. A moment that changed his story. And we're going to look at that as we continue in Philippians 3, verse 7. It says this, I once thought these things were valuable, but now I consider them worthless because of what Christ has done. Yes, everything else is worthless when compared with the infinite value of knowing Christ Jesus, my Lord. For his sake, I have discarded everything else, counting it all as garbage, so that I could gain Christ and become one with him. I think it's important to note here that the things that Paul was striving for, the things that Paul achieved, the things that Paul had were not all bad things. They were not all bad things. But what he's saying is in comparison to knowing Jesus, in comparison to being in a personal relationship with Jesus, they're garbage. They're nothing. Nothing compares to being with Jesus. Because whatever you're pursuing, Jesus is better. So what Paul says in 3 words, what Paul learns in 3 words is this. Jesus is it. Mm-hmm. Jesus is it. And it doesn't matter what the other it is. If it's not Jesus, it's not worth it. And what word does Paul use in verse 8? He says garbage.
Yeah, he says garbage. And if you actually go to the Greek translation of the word that we translated as garbage, the literal word is skubala. Everybody say skubala.
Skubala.
Yeah. So what he's saying in regards to what the culture says that we need, or everything that we feel that we need to strive for, or all the good things in our life and our accolades and promotions and achievements and all the bad things in our life and all the religiosity, all the religion stuff that we do, if we compile that all together, that's compared to Jesus. This is skubala. Now, we've not said scuba a whole lot in church. It's not really a churchy word, but skubala literally means dung or doo-doo. Or to help paint a better picture, if Chariots back in that day had bumper stickers, they might have read, skubala happens.
Oh, we did say no poop jokes.
I was illustrating a picture, Joey. Come on. Yeah, skubala happens. Well, they're saying in regards to having a personal, daily, living relationship with Jesus, everything else in comparison is skubala. Because whatever you're pursuing, Jesus is better. Whatever you're pursuing, Jesus is better because Jesus is it. And so I have a question for you all today. And if you would, just all look up here just for this question, because this question, it could change your life. And it's this. What are you holding on to that's holding you back from Jesus? What are you holding on to that's holding you back from Jesus? You see, when it comes to our relationship with Jesus, Jesus needs to be number one. Jesus is the only thing that can give you a fulfilling life. Jesus is the only thing that satisfies. But here's something that I've learned is there's only one thing that can be first place in your life. Only one thing can be first place in your life. And so my question is this, is what's first in your life? What's maybe in the place that Jesus is supposed to be in? Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's your career. Maybe it's even your family. Or maybe it's just money or success. Or maybe it's a bad thing. Maybe what you've done is you've thought that, you know what, I'm not good enough for Jesus to be number one in my life. I've done too many bad things. I've got too much shame. I've got too much guilt that Jesus can't be it for me because I'm too dirty. And I just want to say it. In regards to everything, what Paul tells us is this. To discard it, to throw it away. Because whatever you're pursuing, Jesus is better. And therefore, we have to discard everything else. For me, in my story, when it comes to like becoming somebody and being a musician that made it from the small town, what I have to do is realize that that can't be number one. That will never fulfill me. And so I need to do what Paul instructs and discard it.
Yeah, and for me, this was something that I struggled with as well. And if I can be just incredibly honest with you, there was something in my life that I really struggled with, that I thought could fulfill me, that I thought could give me some sort of satisfaction. And it was something that I struggled with for several years throughout my life. And if I can just be transparent with you all this morning, that thing for me was pornography. I struggled with pornography for several years throughout my life. And most of the people that I was closest with had no idea. And I wanted it that way. I didn't want people to know. Because you see, this struggle of mine was the one thing that I held on to. I had sacrificed a lot for Jesus. I sacrificed a relationship with lots of different people. I sacrificed my dream of being a college football player. I sacrificed dreams of owning my own business. I sacrificed these things for Jesus, but pornography was the one thing that I held on to. And why? Because I was afraid. I was afraid that Jesus wasn't who he said he was. I was afraid that maybe he wouldn't come through. Maybe everything that I sacrificed wasn't worth it. And so that was the one thing that I held on to. And in the moments when I was opening that computer, I knew that it was wrong. And that if I wanted to go deeper with Jesus, I had to let it go. And so I tried to. I tried to let it go. I tried to do it on my own strength. I fought and I scrapped and I tried to get rid of this thing. But at the end of the day, I could not do it. And it wasn't until I pursued Jesus and told him I wanted to surrender this thing, told him that I wanted freedom from this thing. And I was praying about it, and he spoke to me. And he said, Joey, you've always been free because of the cross. And in that moment, I found freedom. And what else I found is I found a God who offers so much more joy, offers so much more satisfaction, offers so much more peace and so much more contentment than anything that this world could ever offer. So I don't know what it is for you. I don't know what that thing in your life is that maybe you have at the top. I don't know what it is, but I think you do know what it is. I think that you do know what you have in the top of your heart. And so I ask you this morning, what is it? Maybe for you, it's a person, a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Maybe for you, it's your reputation or your status. Maybe it's your job. Maybe it's your house. Maybe it's your money. Or maybe for you, it's religion. Maybe religion is the thing that is actually holding you back from Jesus. Because you have prided yourself on the fact that you went to Sunday school every single weekend as a kid. You got baptized as a kid. You've been in Bible studies since you were 10 years old. You've gone through the confirmation classes. You've done everything. You're the good Christian who sits in the church chairs every single weekend. Maybe the thing that's holding you back is religion. So would you let go of that? Would you let go of religion? Because it's all about Jesus. And as Paul shows us, Jesus is it. Because whatever you're pursuing, whatever it is in your life that you think is the top thing, if it's not Jesus, it's not worth it. Whatever you are pursuing, Jesus is better. So could I ask you this morning to make that decision? Could I ask you to be bold enough in this place, across all campuses, to make the decision to make Jesus the number one thing in your life? So we want to give you an opportunity to do this. We want to give you an opportunity to let go of whatever it is for you. And so as you walked in, you should have gotten a bulletin. And in that bulletin, under the Connect card, there is a little piece of paper that you can rip off. And what we want you to do is simply write whatever it is that you need to let go of this morning. Whatever it is that's holding you back from following Jesus or following Jesus more. And just write it down. Maybe just initial it. This is a moment between you and God. And then what's going to happen is we're going to play a song. And during that song, the ushers are going to come by and they're going to pass along some garbage bags. And what we want you to do is simply write down whatever it is and then throw it in that garbage bag. Because what you are doing in this moment is you are making the decision to let go. You're making the decision to put Jesus at the top. And when you put that piece of paper into the garbage bag, what you are saying is, I am discarding this thing and I'm letting go. And it's going to stay in the garbage. You can't ever take it back. It's staying there, and you are letting go of whatever that thing is. Because friends, I want you to have the peace and the satisfaction and the contentment that comes along with Jesus. Because whatever you are pursuing, whatever it is that you're striving after, whatever you're trying to achieve, Jesus is better. And ultimately, Jesus is it.